everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is Annie Langston, and welcome to our Bluebeam webinar. Who's got the time? Brody is going to be showing you ways that you can use review to improve your communication and save time, which I'm sure is something all of you guys would like to do. So just a little bit of information about me. I am the Bluebeam Customer Success Manager over here at TPM, so for the Carolinas and the Southeast. And so basically what I do over here is I work with current customers on their existing use of Bluebeam Revu and how they can best use it, both individually and as a team or a company. And then also I help customers, individual AEC professionals, and firms in review and learning more about it, understand how they can use it for project collaboration through all phases of the project lifestyle. So whether it's the design process, construction, and then completion, review helps those in the AEC industry in multiple ways improve their collaboration with project partners. So that's a little bit about me, and then we've got Brody. Brody, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
And Annie, we were just asked to see if we could get you any louder, so I guess use that booming voice.
Oh.
Yeah, but we'll get that going.
Okay. I'm usually asked to speak low.
Tone it down. Yeah. All right. So as Annie said, my name is Broderick Whitlock. I go by Brody. So if you guys ever call for technical support, you'll probably hear Brody more than Broderick often. I've been working in AEC since 2015, mainly focusing on production. So I work with an architecture firm, as well as I have worked with a planning department in the local Carolinas. Some of my experience and training obviously come from that real life workflow. I am an application engineer. Technically, we are called technical consultants now, and I'm based off of out of our Charlotte office. I have interest in Dynamo, BIM workflows, BIM 360 design, and Bluebeam. There are some other things that we like to experiment with too, but my main focus is Bluebeam and Revit architecture as a teammate here at TPM. So those are the things that I cover. I'm also a Bluebeam certified instructor, so we do provide Bluebeam certified instructor, Bluebeam certified training for companies that are looking for that as an option. So that's something that Annie will be more than happy to discuss if you guys have questions about training or anything like that after the webinar and the days to come.
Thank you, Brody.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So as I said, we have now started the webinar. So the webinar phase is pretty straightforward and easy. There is, if you'll look to the right in your webinar box area, you do have the ability to chat, so type a message, a question at any time and submit that. And so then we will be able to view those. We will do our best to, I'll be on the lookout for those questions, and Brody kind of be able to help you and let you know that those are there. And Brody, will we be answering the questions during the webinar, or are we going to save those till the end?
It depends on the question. I mean, there may be some that I might have to do afterwards, but for the most part, we'll try to kind of gauge it as well. I mean, this webinar won't be super long. We're dipping our toe in the water a little bit, so it's not going to be a super deep dive. So I think questions are welcome, but we'll gauge those as we go along.
Okay, so if you guys have questions, please type them and submit them, and we'll do our best as we progress through the webinar to address those.
All right.
All right, so a little bit about TPM. Those of you that are on the webinar today might know a lot about us. You might just know us for the specific business purpose that you use us for, but we have been in business for 45 years, which is a long time. We are very proud of that. We are family-owned, locally owned. Our headquarters are in Greenville, South Carolina, and then we have an office in Charlotte and Columbia, but really focus on 6 strategic locations throughout the Carolinas We're all the way up to the Raleigh, Greensboro area, Western North Carolina, down to the Low Country, back up to Greenville, and even have customers beyond the Carolinas. We've got 95 plus employees with 25 plus service and support professionals. We've got about 3,000 customers that we serve annually. Like I said, we've got a Southeastern focus with, but mainly, I think what sets us apart from some of the larger competitors, so to speak, is we have big company resources, but with more of a small company feel. I know personally on my end, a lot of reasons why someone chooses TPM to be their local Bluebeam partner versus going with Bluebeam directly or what have you is the fact that we can and have the ability to respond more efficiently. You have more of that kind of personalized customer service experience with me as the CSM. So that's just an example of some of the benefits with the size that we are. So if you see here, we're looking at the TPM wheel. We got our start 45 years ago in the printing business. So printing plans and graphics. And then as time has evolved, so have we. And as technology has evolved, so have we. So you can see that the majority of our business is made up with software and hardware. So on the software side of things, we sell, support, and train both AEC software and software designed for the manufacturing world. So that's Autodesk and Bluebeam, and then SolidWorks on the manufacturing side. So again, the keyword there is not just sell. We do support and we do train. So we have internal technical support bench here that is available to assist, and then also customized training opportunities, essentials training, whether it's remote or on-site, advanced, so a wide variety of offerings there. On our hardware side, we focus on copiers and printers, so we are a Canon reseller. We also offer large format solutions such as your HP, your OSE, your large format scanners. We now, with the prevalence of 3D printing and scanning, are also involved in that realm as well. So we've got a variety of road shows that we put on, open houses. I know we've had some recently out of our Charlotte location. So if that's something of interest, please know that TPM is involved in that industry as well as hardware overall with large format and small format solutions. And then you can see there support and services. So that is a important focus of TPM is the ability to stay in contact with our customers and provide training and consulting, no matter what your technology needs are. And then we have not gotten away from our roots. So we started with printing and graphics 45 years ago, and that is still a part of our business, everything from interior graphics, exterior signage, vehicle wraps, trade show banners, repo graphics and scanning, you name it, we do it. So here essentially is our TPM wheel and all of the technology solutions that we offer.
All right. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So this is where I take over as far as the conversation and what we're going to be covering today. So again, this topic of this webinar is who's got time. And mainly it's going to be about Bluebeam and how it can help take away some of those mundane tasks that had to be done manually or in some other ways more complicated than it should be. So the things that we're going to cover today are going to be batch signing and sealing. So if you have multiple sheets of drawings and the place that you're sending your approvals to allows for digital signatures or digital stamps or seals, this is going to be beneficial. Revision tracking and management with Document Compare. Bluebeam does offer two different ways of doing that, so we'll go through that. Bluebeam Studio, which is the online collaborative space as well as file storing system for Bluebeam. We'll show you some of the interface there and actually have a demo session with one of my coworkers to show you that how sessions works as far as to actually working in real time collaboratively to mark up a drawing. And then Annotation Summary with Hyperlinks. So that is going to be the 4 items that we're going to touch on. Again, if you guys do have questions, Annie and I are going to try to be vigilant and make sure that you guys are seeing or heard. And if it's something that we can't answer right away, we'll answer it at the end, or it may require a little bit more research for you guys, and we can get back with you on that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Bluebeam. And since we're not doing kind of like a basic overview, I mean, I'll quickly go over the what you're looking at here on the screen. Again, here are your menu bars up top, your toolbars, your left and right panels. And let's see if I can get this guy a little bit bigger. All right. Your left and your right panels are over here. And then down at the bottom, you do have a markups list. And so this will come into play when we go and look at the annotation summary. But for now, we're going to take a look at batch signing and sealing. Let me pull up a document for you guys.
And so you may have already said this, Bertie, but batch signing and sealing is a function of extreme, correct?
Yes. Yes, an extreme only function. So that's one thing that there are three different types of Bluebeam Revu. You have the standard, you have the CAD version, which gives you plugins for your AutoCAD or Revit, as well as you have the extreme version, which gives you everything the Revu standard and the Revu CAD has, but added functions such as batch functioning as well. So for this example, as far as to batch signing and sealing, as you can see, I do have a document. It does have some items on here. However, it is a multi-page document, not as big as most sets that you guys may be working with. However, this will give you a general idea of how this batch signing and sealing works. So up here at the top, I do have that option to select batch. Within that, you do have the ability to do signing and sealing. Now, whenever you choose that option, it brings up a dialog box that tells you, okay, well, what plans do you have, what files do you have open, how many pages they are. So you can actually just do a custom range, you can do all the pages, or you can just do the current page that you're looking at right now. And so what we'll do is we'll keep it at all pages, and we will hit next. And let me drag this over for you guys. All right, so on this interface, it brings up multiple things. It brings up the option to create to add a digital signature. It also brings up the option for a date, which is up here in the corner. Everything starts off in the top left corner, so if you don't see it, that's where it is. Now, when you have a digital signature, and that's something that can be created through Bluebeam, you do set a password to it. And let's get that bigger. And it fills out a lot of different information, which you'll see once I hit OK. And we'll leave that guy that big so you can see it, and we don't have to zoom in on it. You can set a reason. Those are preset by Bluebeam. Your location, contact information, standard, your appearance as well. You can also create a new appearance too. As far as the date goes, date has all of these options. You can set the format. You can set the font. You can also set the font size, so we'll kind of make that a little bit bigger, as well as we'll change it to orange. I like orange. And we'll make it 72. The nice thing too is that so your signature is password protected. So as far as to somebody going in and erasing it, they would need the password. For your date, you can actually have that flatten on once we hit OK. That way it can't be moved or anything like that. But if you don't choose flatten, it can be moved and manipulated. The same thing goes for your seal. Now, Bluebeam does have some seals that are automatically loaded in with the software, but you can also import seals if you have seals created, and there's a way to actually get some of your information in there, especially with stamps. You can get that in there as well. So with this, you do have the option to flatten, as well as you have the option to allow markup recovery. So basically unflattening to do any changes there. So the nice thing is you only have to do the placement in one drawing, or the drawing that you see. And once you do that placement, it will do it for all of our drawings. So I'm just going to place these guys in different locations.
And while Brody's um,
Uh,
doing that, I do want to make the distinction that what we're showing you is batch sign and seal, which is an extreme function, as
there we
he
go.
said, which means that you can apply digital signature and seal across a batch of multiple files. So
Mm-hmm.
it might not be 2 documents, it could be 100,
Yeah.
and it'll apply it. However, with Review Standard and CAD, you still have the ability, right, Brody, to
Yeah.
apply a signature or a seal. You just can't do it across a batch
Multiple, yeah. And I'll show them that. I'll go
file.
back to that as well.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so if we hit OK, it's going to process that. And then it's going to show us that it has placed that in the locations as we requested on that batch sign and seal. Now, the thing is, what Annie was talking about is that you do have the option to add files. Whereas if we were in the other versions that were just your standard, you would only be able to do it with that document that's open. So that is batch signing and sealing. Again, this will be really helpful if you guys have to sign multiple documents at one time, or seal or date or do whatever that is available through the sign and seal. You can have that happen, so it'll save you some time on that end. Now we're gonna move in.
Doing it manually.
Rather than doing it manually, copying and pasting in place, which can be a little mundane over time. So now that we have done that, we're going to move into revision tracking and management with Document Compare. So what I've opened up is we have two documents that look fairly similar. However, there are some differences. So there are two ways to do this. The first way that we're going to go over is going to be a side-by-side comparison, which gives us the option to compare the documents side by side. And then you also have, whenever that does show up, whenever you do compare documents, you have the option to only do two documents at one time with this option. So if you didn't have, like I have multiple documents open, if you didn't have those open, you can actually go in and select the documents that you want to compare. Now, since these are both vector-based PDFs, they were printed directly from the Revit software. We don't have to really worry about selecting a window or picking points. When it comes down to selecting windows and picking points, that's going to be more for your scanned documents. So if you have scanned documents, obviously the higher the quality, the better. But since we do not have to do that with this, we will not select a window or pick a point. You can also, in your advanced options, you can change your color sensitivity, you can change your pixel density, rendering, as well as we can change the color of the markup as well. So you have a lot of options to kind of make it to your liking. And once we do this, we're going to apply the suffix of difference or diff. You can change that to whatever you want as well. So I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to give us the side by side. So what it did was it applied all of those differences to, as you can see up here, revision B. So it's the same one as this one. However, with the suffix, or the suffix, it gave us a new document, so you can save that, and it won't harm the document that was the original. Now, the nice thing is Bluebeam has a way of knowing where you're looking at on either page. So this kind of helps with comparing documents. I know that some of my friends, even when I was practicing, having to go through printed documents or even PDFs and trying to find differences, this would have made my life a whole lot easier. So if we zoom in here, you can see that, and sometimes it's very finicky, so it could be something as simple as a space or placement. But then let's go over here to this area, and you can see that that design has completely changed. So Bluebeam is calling attention to these items. Sometimes it may be something where it's just like, I just shifted the text over an inch, or not even an inch, but like a 16th. Or it could be something major like this, or say a door swing has changed as well. So you guys can see that Bluebeam is trying to help you be a little bit more efficient at obviously comparing documents instead of having to figure out a way to do it side by side and maybe getting lost on a big project. The other method is going to be overlay. Now, overlay is nice because overlay you can actually do multiple pages at one time. With that option, you can also change your color. We're going to keep it Christmas theme. I mean, Christmas isn't too far away, right? So we're going to do that. When I go to edit defaults, it shows.
You're not one of those, Brody, are you?
No, I actually like fall. Fall is my favorite.
Okay.
But you guys can see that there are multiple layers. So this is just letting you know that you have the options to do 7+ layers as well. And you can do a custom page range if you need to. You can merge the existing or default file name, change the background, default blend. Kind of your similar things like you would say do in Illustrator if you ever use that, or Photoshop. Opacity, and all of these lovely tools. This is something that you can kind of dig deep into and make your own standards, especially if you guys want to have that across the board with your company. You guys can dig into that. Again, with these being vector-based PDFs, we don't have to worry about aligning points. It's going to do a good job of recognizing where they are. So we're going to hit overlay pages, and I'm going to close this guy, and we're going to look at this one. So now you do have to remember what color is what layer. However, you can see that there are the differences in the red and the green. And the other example that we used earlier when we did the side-by-side comparison is the option to your differences in this for your area, or this gathering space here. So this is another way. This again is beneficial if you have multiple layers, or not multiple layers, but multiple documents, more than two. This gives you a good understanding of your phases, and as well as what's nice here is it tells you, okay, well, that's the difference. You can see that the new one is going to be 12:15, and the last updated, or A, was 9:30. So this just gives you a good understanding of what's going on in your document, and helping you to see your differences a little bit easier than trying to take something to a light table. So it's kind of like your virtual light table. Let me message Matt and get him in here. We are about to discuss the Bluebeam Studio. And like I said, I'm going to bring in my coworker Matt to get him in here to show you guys how that works.
Brody, I'm working on helping him get in right now.
Okay. All right. So while she's working with him, one thing that you'll notice, so on my screen I do have my studio button here. I think when you start out with Bluebeam, and if you're in the advanced profile, it'll be over here. But I did move it. As you can see, you can shift that. Just a quick little tip there. So you do have two options. Bluebeam Studio has both projects and sessions. A little bit about projects. So projects is going to be like your Dropbox style document, not even document, but file saving space. So this has no limitation on file type, no limitation on quantity or file size. So you can pretty much put everything in here for a project, and people have access to it if they're invited to that. And I'll show you guys how to invite once we get Matthew loaded in. The other thing that we're going to cover is sessions. So sessions, I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but Bluebeam has the ability to do live collaboration. So this collaboration is going to be, say, instead of you having to fly to Atlanta or fly to Dallas or some other city to meet up with someone working on a project, especially if it's out in outside of your area, this gives you the ability to collaborate with them virtually. So it saves you a lot of money, saves you time on travel. And the nice thing is that your contractors do not have to, you or your contractors do not have to have a full version, paid version of Bluebeam to use Studio. The only thing is the person that is creating the studio session or project has to have a paid version. Once that paid version is, once that studio session is set up, that person, you can invite them, and I'll show you that process. You can invite them, and then they will have access to it as long as the session is up and running. And once it's not, then they go back to what is called Bluebeam Revu, which is just a PDF viewer with some tools, but not all of the tools that you have on a paid version. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Matthew in here. So I'm going to send him an invite. Now, you have two ways of doing this. You can do it where it's email only, or you can give people the session ID and they can join in that way as well. So I'm going to invite Matthew. Now, one thing to remember is that whenever you invite someone to a session, make sure it's the same email address they used to sign up for Bluebeam Studio, because if not, then they'll have to sign in with, they'll have to create another account, or you can just uninvite that person and invite the proper email address. So I'm going to hit OK. Matthew is going to get an email, and then he is going to join the party. So you guys are going to see that the attendees is going to change, and it also will tell us down here in the record that he has joined. Let me let him know that he is.
While we're waiting for Matt to join, does anyone have any questions? I know you guys have to type it, but thought we'd take a moment. Alrighty.
All right. And the other thing, okay, so Matt's here now. And he's also texting me. So you do have that chat function, which I'm assuming that if you guys are doing this, you probably will be on a conference call. But if not, you do have a chat option there. The other thing is that you have to upload documents. So with sessions, you are limited to 5,000 PDFs. So sessions is only 4 PDFs, and it's limited to 500 attendees, which if you have a project that big, if you have a project that big, I'm pretty sure you're going to be face to face at this point. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is have Matthew come in and do some markups for me. And you'll see that it will do real times for you guys. So this way you can see what somebody's talking about immediately. Now it doesn't pan, say if the person is panning to a different spot, it doesn't pan to that, but it will populate in your record as well as it will populate on the screen. The other nice thing, if you're worried about security or anything like that, is you as a creator and no one else other than the person that made the markup can actually edit the markup. So I can't go in and say, now that Matthew's added a cloud, I can't go in and delete this. You don't have the ability to. Now the nice thing is he's added text there, so you can see that he's done that. And one thing I'll show you guys is that you can actually also call attention to someone. So if you go create a markup, you can add to alert the attendee. So I want to alert Matthew to this, and it let me know that he has an alert now. And if he does the same thing for me, it will give me a pending notification saying that, hey, this needs attention. So this is a good way to communicate as well if you want somebody to pay attention to something that you've done. Now, the one thing about the session is people can come and go as they please until the session is closed. So even if you guys are working at it and say somebody's on a different time zone and somebody's going to lunch, you can still go to that session while as long as it's still up and running and they haven't closed the session completely. So as you can see, Matthew alerted me to this cloud that I need to just take a look at it, things of that nature. So it is beneficial. Again, the biggest time saver here is going to be the fact that you're not having to travel, you're not having to put files on SharePoint or anything like that, an FTP site or in transfer files, you can have those PDFs available to do markups, as well as in projects. You can actually have multiple items there. And so what I'm going to show you here with projects is going to be that you can have your same file format or folder format that you guys may have at your company. And you can invite people just like I did with the session to this. And the nice thing is once you can upload your files and folders or whatever you need. Let's do training files. We'll do this one. All right. And the nice thing is while it's in the folder, it is available to anyone. Once that person, say if Matthew came in and checked it out, he would check it out, he would do his markups, and then he could put it back in. And once he checks it back in, it syncs, and so any changes that he has done will show up whenever I go in to read it or anybody else goes to read it. So that's the benefit, especially if you're, say, working in the field, and you have Bluebeam for iPad. This is clutch if you have internet access, or if you have, say, a SIM card in your iPad. The other thing, you can also do Microsoft Surface as well, which would be like a standard Bluebeam license. But the nice thing is that if you don't have internet access, the person can check out all the documents prior to leaving, and then whenever they say go to lunch or go somewhere that has Wi-Fi, they can upload them back, and all the changes will be there. So that's another nice thing. So this is just, again, saving time. I know we met with a company where they would have to come back into the office and add the photos and things to reports. But if they had this ability to use the Bluebeam projects, then they would have been able to just do it there in the field, upload it whenever they got to Wi-Fi or internet, and then it would be uploaded, and it would save them time from having to get back in and do it, take another hour or so. So now that that's over with the sessions or the studio, anybody have any questions about Bluebeam Studio? All right, I just see K.
Yeah, so it seems we've, pretty much covered, Brody, here as we kind of approach the end of batch signing and sealing, using the document compare and overlay to track revisions, which ultimately can save time. And then you just showed them how to use studio projects and sessions as a single source of truth as far as being able to keep revisions up to date with the team, being able to collaborate with folks that are in the field versus in the office, ultimately saving time. So yeah, guys, if you have questions about the topics that Brody has just covered.
And we have one more. Yep.
Oh, we do. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, we have
as
one
of
more.
right now, this is a good stopping point. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And of course, if you can't think of any questions to ask right now, get in touch with Brody. Get in touch with myself after this, and I'm here to help. So.
Yeah. For sure. All right. So last but not least, we're going to talk about the annotation summary. And as you guys can see, I pulled up on the screen down here at the bottom panel. This cannot be moved. But it brings up our markups. So the markups are nice because it lets you know the subject, the label, what page it was on, the comments, who did it, at what time and date they did it, and what color the items are in as well. So if we were to click on those, it'll highlight those items for us. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys. The other nice thing is you do have the option to hide or show certain columns. These are built-in columns from Bluebeam on the original install. And then you also have the option to manage those columns if you want them to show up in their display. And let me see, where's my option? Give me 1 second. Where are you? All right, so we can do select all. I will turn that off though. Let me just turn off a few of these guys here. Actually, we'll keep comments and lock. All right. So, you do have the option to do multiple PDF summaries. Your PDF or your multiple styles of summaries. So you have a CSV, which if you guys, I will probably be doing a 4-Minute Friday on how to do a quantity link soon. So that CSV will come into play there. Quantity link is a Bluebeam Extreme or Revu Extreme function. So that will be something that's only available to those with Bluebeam Extreme. You have the option to do XML, PDF summary, and print. For this example, we're going to do a PDF summary. The PDF summary is going to give us the option to attach or pin hyperlinks. Actually, let me open this guy. I'm going to do it here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do a quick few markups for you guys. Just to show you guys what's going on. All right. So I'm going to create a PDF summary. And it's going to give me the option to append and hyperlink to current PDF. This is an option I recommend changing or adding. This will be the title of it. You can change that there. If you guys have templates, you can do that. Page breaks, etc., thumbnails, and padding. So what I'll do is go ahead and hit OK. All right, and let me close this guy so you guys can get a better idea. So here are my thumbnails. You can see that I have the original PDF. I have the summaries here. And the reason why I did append hyperlink is because if you select the items in the markups list that we exported to PDF, it will give you the ability to click in and find those items on the drawing. So instead of having to look at the PDF summary of the markups and then try to find them on the drawing, especially if there's a lot of similar things such as callouts or clouds, this will give you the ability to go directly to them. Now, this will have to be done in Bluebeam. So if you have sent this to someone that has Bluebeam, they can open it up, open up the document that was created, and it will still have those markups there. But if you chose not to append the hyperlinks, then it will not show up for you guys. So that's the last thing that we were going to cover here for the Who's Got Time. Basically trying to save you guys time using Bluebeam as an option for your PDF software, PDF options working in the AEC industry and manufacturing actually. All right, so let's move over to this guy. So now that we've finished the webinar, it would be nice, to know how we did. So just send us an email because this is my first one. And also, if you guys have any questions, now would be the time to ask questions. And we'll give you guys a couple minutes if you guys are typing to see what you guys have, if there are any. All right.
Yeah, and so if you guys are current, Bluebeam users and have questions about maybe some additional, functionality or workflows that you think you might be able to use Revu for, that are, interested in talking with me or talking with our either of our Bluebeam technical consultants, we're here to help with that. Or if Bluebeam is totally brand new to you, you just got on this webinar because you or the firm that you are at have been, it's come up before, you're potentially interested in it. Again, we are here to kind of give you a little bit of information as far as Revu, what it's used for. We do have the ability to do a remote demo. So, that doesn't necessarily require us coming out to your conference room to do it. We can do it remotely with you and your team. Again, if it's something that you're interested in but you do not currently use, And we do have the ability to help with the onboarding process. So that's something Brody often helps with, as well as Corey, our other Bluebeam technical consultant, getting the team, the company onboarded with the software and up to speed on the various functions and workflows that they'll be utilizing Review for. So,
All right, let's move over to the last slide. So yeah, I definitely want to say thank you. Wait, we have a question. What is the
okay.
licensing option for multiple computers?
Okay, so Bluebeam has two licensing models. You have the perpetual license model and what's called an open license. So a perpetual license is installed and registered on a per workstation basis. So if a company is identified, hey, I think I've got maybe 10 Bluebeam Revu users, you could essentially purchase 10 perpetual licenses that would be individually installed and registered on that user's computer. So 10 people would have 10, licenses or would each have a license with 10 total. And so they'd be able to access the software that way. Another way is what's called an open license. Now, an open license is kind of Bluebeam's, I guess, answer to the network style. So basically, it would allow your company to give access to any number of users it would like to of Review Extreme. So that is the one caveat. An open license only gives you access to Review Extreme, which is the top tier and comes with the batch signing and sealing that Brody's talked about. But basically, it would allow your company to give access of Review Extreme to any number of users within the company it would like to. You access a seat through a web-based portal called the Bluebeam Gateway. Check a seat out. Use the program for what you need to use it for. The seat, you check it back in before someone else can check a seat out and then use it for what they need to use it for. So it is a one in, one out scenario. So companies that tend to go the open license route will either purchase several or however many open licenses they need, depending on how many users they might need to be in the program simultaneously, or they will go the perpetual route. But there's two different ways, and I know that might be confusing. I'm here to follow up with any additional questions you might have. But perpetual or the open license would be an option for multiple computers.
Awesome. Um, so with that being said, if there are no other questions, we do want to thank you guys for viewing this webinar. We will be doing several webinars throughout the year. Definitely check out our TPM website for the list or the calendar for that. Upcoming events that we do have are going to be August 20th. We have the AEC webinar, Scratching the Surface, Creating Clean Contours in Civil 3D. That will be with Corey. And then on September 19th, if you're in the Charlotte area and part of the AIA, we are going to be participating in the annual AIA Charlotte Joe Malamo golf tournament as well. Again, we want to say thank you guys for attending. If you have any more questions, again, you can email either Annie or I or Corey. But Annie might be a good point to start, and we will get your questions answered. Whenever they come in for you guys as well. If you have any comments on the webinar, we'd love to hear them. We can always get better. And again, we just want to say a big thank you for listening in, taking your time out of your day to do so. So hopefully we got you to a point where we can save you some time using Bluebeam.
Thank you, everyone. And if you'd like to send me an email, it is Annie, ANNIELANGSTON at tpm.com. Annie Langston at tpm.com. Thank you.
Thank you.